I never thought my life would turn into a showdown with the HOA president. But when Kathy Richardson threatened to evict me from my own property, she had no idea she was messing with the new owner of the entire block. Let me tell you how a simple veteran's dream turned into the most satisfying revenge against the neighborhood tyrant. After serving 12 years in the Army, including 3 tours overseas, I wanted nothing more than a peaceful place to call home. My name is Victor Young, and I'd spent the last decade saving every penny for my dream, a modest house with a small yard where I could grow tomatoes and not worry about mortar fire. When I found the perfect place in Oakridge Estates, I thought I'd finally found my slice of heaven. The house wasn't fancy, a 2-bedroom ranch with faded blue siding and a concrete porch that had seen better days, but it was mine. All mine. I'd closed on the property 3 weeks ago and spent every waking moment fixing it up. The previous owners had neglected the yard, leaving it overgrown and wild, but I didn't mind the work. My first warning sign should have been my next-door neighbor, Oliver, who leaned over the fence the day I moved in. "Better get that yard sorted quick," he said, glancing nervously toward the street. "Kathy doesn't tolerate untidiness. She'll fine you before you can blink." "Kathy?" I asked, wiping sweat from my forehead. "HOA president. Been running this place like her personal kingdom for 8 years. Trust me, you don't want to get on her bad side." I thanked him for the warning but didn't think much of it. I'd faced Taliban fighters. How bad could one neighborhood administrator be? I found out exactly 3 days later when a sharp knock interrupted my bathroom remodel. I opened the door to find a woman in her 50s with professionally highlighted blonde hair cut in an angled bob, wearing white capri pants and a pastel pink blouse. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Hello there. I'm Catherine Richardson, president of the Oakridge Estates Homeowners Association." She extended a manicured hand. "And you must be the new owner." I shook her hand. "Victor Young, nice to meet you." "Well, Victor, I'm here because we have some concerns." She glanced pointedly at my yard. "Your property doesn't meet our community standards. The lawn needs immediate attention, and I notice you've been working on renovations. Did you submit your modification requests to the architectural committee?" I blinked. "I just bought the place. I'm fixing it up." "Yes, well, there are procedures. You need prior approval for any external changes, including landscaping. The bylaws are quite clear." She pulled out a folder from her designer tote bag. "Here's a copy of our regulations and a notice of violation. You have 7 days to remedy these issues before fines begin accruing." I took the folder, trying to remain polite. "I'm still unpacking, but I'll look this over." "See that you do." Her smile tightened. "We maintain very high standards here in Oakridge. I'm sure you understand the importance of property values." After she left, I flipped through the binder. 48 pages of rules dictating everything from acceptable paint colors to the maximum height of garden gnomes. This wasn't what I'd signed up for. Over the next week, I focused on the yard as requested, trimming the overgrown bushes and mowing the lawn. I figured if I showed good faith, Kathy would back off and give me time to settle in. I was wrong. The following Monday, I found another notice taped to my door. This one cited improper waste disposal. I'd left a trash bag beside my renovation debris while waiting for a dumpster delivery, and unapproved landscaping changes. The fine was $150. I called the number on the notice and got Kathy directly. "Mrs. Richardson, this is Victor Young. I got another violation notice, but I've been working nonstop to clean up the property." "Yes, but you removed the azalea bushes without approval," she replied coolly. "And the trash situation is unacceptable. The committee meets monthly to review modification requests. The next meeting is in 3 weeks. 3 weeks? I can't just stop all work for 3 weeks. Those are the rules, Mr. Young. Rules you agreed to when you purchased in our community. That wasn't entirely true. I'd been so excited about finally affording my own place that I'd skimmed the HOA agreement. My fault, perhaps, but Kathy's enforcement seemed excessive. The next 2 weeks brought 4 more violation notices, totaling nearly $600 in fines, changing my front door without approval, installing a vegetable garden in the backyard, using the wrong color mulch, leaving my work truck parked in the driveway overnight. When I tried to appeal the fines, Kathy informed me that appeals had to be submitted in writing, in triplicate, with a $25 processing fee per appeal. It felt like I was being targeted. My neighbor Oliver confirmed my suspicions one evening as we chatted over the fence. "She's definitely riding you harder than most," he admitted. "Last guy who lived in your house had arguments with her all the time. Word is she wanted to buy the place herself when it went up for sale, but couldn't match your offer." That explained some of her animosity, but not the intensity. I decided to start attending HOA meetings to better understand what I was dealing with. The first meeting was eye-opening. Held in the community center, about 20 homeowners gathered in folding chairs while Kathy presided from a table at the front, flanked by 2 board members who rarely spoke. The treasurer's report revealed that the HOA had nearly $200,000 in reserves, despite the modest size of our community. "And where exactly is all that money allocated?" asked an elderly gentleman in the back. "As we've discussed previously, Mr. Caldwell, the funds are designated for future community improvements," Kathy answered dismissively. "Now, moving on to new business." She controlled the meeting with an iron grip, cutting off questions and rushing through votes. I noticed several homeowners exchanging knowing glances, but no one challenged her directly. After the meeting, a woman named Olivia Oswald approached me. She had warm brown eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor that I immediately appreciated. "You're the new guy in the old Peterson place, right?" she asked. "That's me. Victor Young." "Olivia, I live on Magnolia Court." She lowered her voice. "Look, Kathy's been running this place like her personal piggy bank for years. The community improvements never seem to materialize, but her husband's construction company gets all the maintenance contracts." "That doesn't sound legal," I said. "It's not, but nobody wants to fight her. Last person who tried ended up with so many violations they had to sell. Just watch yourself." She handed me her card. "I'm a real estate attorney. Call me if you need advice." I tucked her card into my wallet, thanking her for the warning. Little did I know how soon I'd need her help. The situation escalated the following week when I returned from a hardware store run to find a tow truck preparing to haul away my work truck. "Hey, what's going on?" I demanded, jumping out of my car. The driver looked uncomfortable. "HOA called, said this vehicle violates community regulations." "This is my property," I argued. "You can't just tow my truck from my own driveway." "Actually, we can," came Kathy's voice from behind me. She stood with her arms crossed, a clipboard in hand. "Commercial vehicles cannot be parked in residential driveways overnight. It's in the bylaws, Section 12, Paragraph 3. "I need this truck for my livelihood," I said, struggling to keep my voice level. "I'm a contractor." "Then you should have purchased in a neighborhood that allows commercial vehicles," she replied with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Perhaps Oakridge Estates isn't the right fit for you, Mr. Young." That's when it clicked. She wasn't just being difficult, she was actively trying to drive me out. "Call off the tow truck," I said firmly. "Now." "I'm afraid I can't do that. The rules." "The rules also say the homeowner must receive 24 hours written notice before a vehicle can be towed," I interrupted, having finally read the entire bylaws the night before. "I received no such notice." Kathy's smile faltered. "The notice was delivered yesterday." No, it wasn't, and I have a doorbell camera that can prove it. This was a bluff. I hadn't installed a camera yet, but Kathy didn't know that. After a tense moment, she waved off the tow truck driver. We'll revisit this matter later, Mr. Young. But I suggest you find alternative parking for your eyesore. That night, I finally made the call to Olivia Oswald. Over coffee at a local diner, I laid out everything that had happened. She's escalating faster than usual, Olivia noted, tapping her pen against her notepad. Typically, she bleeds new homeowners dry with fines for a while before moving to eviction threats. Eviction. She can't evict me. I own the property outright. Olivia grimaced. Technically, if you violate HOA rules consistently and accumulate enough fines, they can place a lien on your property and eventually force a sale to recover the money. It's rare, but it happens. That's insane. I ran a hand through my hair, all because I planted tomatoes without permission. It's never really about the violations, Olivia said. It's about control, and in Kathy's case, possibly money. I've had suspicions about the HOA finances for years, but without access to the records. What if we could get access? I asked, an idea forming. Homeowners have the right to review financial records, but Kathy always creates obstacles: limited hours, supervised access only, no copies allowed. Olivia leaned forward. What are you thinking? I smiled for the first time in weeks. I might have a solution, but I need a little time. Can you help me delay any serious action from the HOA for about a month? I can file some procedural objections that should buy you at least that, she agreed. But what's your plan? The less you know right now, the better, I said. But I promise it'll be worth the wait. What Olivia didn't know, what no one knew, was that my simple contractor story wasn't the whole truth. Before my military service, I'd worked in commercial real estate development, and I'd maintained those connections. When I'd seen the listing for my house, I'd also noticed something interesting. The developer who'd built Oakridge Estates 3 decades ago was in financial trouble. The day after my coffee with Olivia, I made some calls. It took 2 weeks of negotiations, but I finally received the confirmation I was waiting for. With the help of 2 former colleagues who'd become successful developers, I'd just become the new owner of not just my house, but the entire undeveloped portion of Oakridge Estates. Nearly 40 acres of land surrounding our community that the original developer had held onto for future expansion. More importantly, this purchase included something Kathy didn't realize: the master rights to the HOA itself. I kept this information to myself while Olivia ran interference, challenging every new violation notice with legal letters that forced Kathy to follow proper procedures. The delay frustrated her visibly. I could see it in her tight smile when she drove past my house, slowing down to document any possible infraction. The confrontation I'd been anticipating came on a Saturday morning. I was installing a new mailbox, approved design, but Kathy didn't know that yet, when her luxury SUV screeched to a halt in front of my house. "Mr. Young," she called, marching up my driveway with a thick envelope. "This has gone far enough. Despite multiple notices and warnings, you continue to violate our community standards." "Good morning to you too, Kathy," I said calmly, continuing to secure the mailbox post. "This is a formal notice of intent to place a lien on your property for unpaid fines totaling $2,350. She thrust the envelope toward me. "You have 14 days to pay in full or face legal action." I took the envelope and tucked it into my back pocket without opening it. "Actually, I'd like to discuss those fines at the emergency HOA meeting I've called for tomorrow evening." She laughed. "You can't call an HOA meeting. Only the board has that authority." "That's not entirely true," I replied, standing up and dusting off my hands. According to the master deed restrictions, the majority property owner can call a special meeting at any time. You might want to check Section 3 of the Community Charter. Kathy's expression flickered between confusion and annoyance. What are you talking about? There is no majority property owner. Oakridge Estates is fully developed. Not the 40 acres surrounding the community that were held by Westfield Development. I smiled. Those acres now belong to YV Properties, my company. The color drained from her face. You're lying. The papers were filed with the county last week. As the owner of the majority of land within the Oakridge Estates master plan, I have certain rights, including the right to call a meeting and review all HOA records. I've already notified the other board members. 7 o'clock tomorrow, Community Center. Kathy's shock quickly morphed into anger. This changes nothing. Your property violations still stand. We'll discuss that tomorrow as well, I said pleasantly. You might want to bring the financial records for the past 5 years. All of them. She stormed back to her SUV without another word, but I noticed her hands were shaking. For the first time since moving in, I felt a sense of control. That evening, I got a call from Olivia. What did you do? She demanded without preamble. Kathy's calling everyone on the board in a panic. I explained my purchase and the upcoming meeting. That's incredible, she said after a long pause, but be careful. Kathy won't go down without a fight. I'm counting on it, I replied. The community center was packed the next evening. Word had spread quickly, and nearly every homeowner in Oakridge Estates had shown up. Kathy arrived last, flanked by a man I assumed was her husband and another person who turned out to be their attorney. This meeting is irregular and potentially invalid, the attorney announced before anyone else could speak. We reserve the right to challenge any decisions made tonight. Noted, I said, taking a position at the front of the room. But as stipulated in the master deed, the majority property owner has the right to call a special meeting with 24 hours notice, which was provided. I presented the documentation confirming my company's ownership of the surrounding property, then moved directly to the main agenda. For too long, this HOA has operated without proper oversight. Tonight, we're going to review the financial records for the past 5 years and discuss some changes to our governing structure. Kathy interrupted, her voice sharp. Mr. Young is attempting a hostile takeover of our community based on a technicality. He has no interest in our property values or community standards. He's proven that by his continuous violations. Several homeowners murmured in agreement. Actually, I countered, I care deeply about this community. What I don't care for is selective enforcement of arbitrary rules and financial mismanagement. I nodded to Olivia, who distributed packets to everyone in attendance. These are copies of the HOA financial statements for the past 5 years, which Ms. Oswald obtained through a formal legal request. You'll notice several concerning patterns. The room grew quiet as people flipped through the pages. First, the HOA has collected over $500,000 in dues and fines during this period, while spending less than half that amount on actual community maintenance. Second, nearly all maintenance contracts were awarded to Richardson Construction without competitive bidding. Third, there's a pattern of aggressive fine enforcement that seems targeted at specific homeowners, often followed by those homeowners selling their properties below market value. The murmurs grew louder as people compared notes. I could see Kathy whispering frantically to her attorney. Most concerning, I continued, is the creation of a community improvement fund with over $175,000 that has never been used for any actual improvements. According to bank records, this money was transferred last month to an account that appears to be under Mrs. Richardson's personal control. At this, the room erupted. Kathy shot to her feet. These accusations are slanderous. The improvement fund is being held for future projects approved by the board. Then you won't mind if we freeze that account pending a full audit, I suggested. Her husband stood up then. You can't do that. The board approved those transfers. Did they? I turned to the other board members present. Did you specifically approve transferring HOA funds to an account called KR Personal Holdings? The stunned expressions on their faces answered my question. One of them, a retired accountant named Gerald, slowly shook his head. We approved setting aside funds for the new playground and fountain. I never saw any documentation about a transfer to an external account. The meeting devolved into chaos after that, with homeowners demanding answers and Kathy and her husband trying to defend themselves. Their attorney eventually advised them to say nothing further, and they left abruptly. Over the next 3 hours, we elected an interim board, with Olivia as president, voted to conduct a forensic audit of the HOA finances, and approved a simplified set of community guidelines that focused on reasonable standards rather than micromanagement. The aftermath unfolded over the following weeks. The forensic audit revealed that Kathy had been embezzling funds for years, using the HOA as her personal piggy bank while intimidating homeowners with excessive fines. Nearly $200,000 had been diverted to personal accounts and family businesses through inflated contracts. With the evidence Olivia and I compiled, the district attorney filed criminal charges against both Kathy and her husband. They were arrested 3 weeks after our meeting, the images of a handcuffed Kathy being escorted from her perfect colonial home making the local news. As for me, I finally completed my renovations, including a vegetable garden that expanded beyond just tomatoes. My work truck remains parked in my driveway without issue. The new HOA board, led by Olivia, approved reasonable guidelines that protected property values without strangling homeowners in red tape. 6 months after moving in, I hosted the neighborhood's first block party in my newly landscaped backyard. As I watched my neighbors relaxing and children playing, Oliver raised his beer in my direction. "Never thought I'd see the day Oakridge felt like a real community," he said with a grin. "Sometimes you have to fight for your piece of heaven," I replied, thinking of how far we'd come. "The 40 acres I purchased. We're developing half of it as a community park with walking trails and a real playground. The other half will eventually become new homes, but with a different kind of HOA structure, one that serves the community rather than controlling it." Kathy Richardson received 3 years of probation and was ordered to pay full restitution. She and her husband sold their home and moved away, unable to face their former neighbors. Sometimes justice comes in unexpected ways. As for Olivia and me, well, let's just say our professional relationship evolved into something more personal. Turns out fighting HOA tyranny together is quite the bonding experience. She moved into my renovated ranch house last month, and we're already planning our next project together. Not bad for a veteran who just wanted a quiet place to grow tomatoes.